Welcome to Meet the Authors with your host, Dr. Philip Levin. We're glad to have you welcome us into our home for this show, which brings local authors talking about their books and their lives. You know, I love being an author. I love having this opportunity to teach people, to bring people in and show what's available. And it's part for me too, because I'm an author. I've written 24 books, and I like to talk about them. I like to present them. I don't make any money off of them. That's not the point. The point is to share the memories, to share the entertainment, to be a storyteller. The story we're going to tell today is about Hanukkah. This show is being shot on the 8th night of Hanukkah. I was raised Jewish, and Hanukkah is a celebration of the liberation of the Temple of David in 145 BC or so abouts. And so every night, for 8 nights, we light these candles, and I'm going to do that now, and sort of share a little bit of my heritage. So the story is that in 145 BCE, the Greek-Syrian army under Antiochus took over Jerusalem and desecrated the Temple of David. Under Judas Maccabee, the Hebrews liberated it again and cleaned it out and found a little bit of oil, 1 day's worth of oil to show the presence of God. They lit that, and it took 8 days to find more oil, but it lasted all that time. So it was a miracle. But the miracle is not that the oil lasted that long. It's that people who are willing to fight for their beliefs, stand up for what's right, will eventually be victorious. So this is a celebration. This candelabra I got in Peru. There are Jewish communities all over the world. This is from a beautiful little shop that's symbolic. The shape doesn't matter that much. You look, you see 9 candles, but this is just a helper candle, which we'll be lighting to use the others. And I'll be saying a little prayer in Hebrew. And then I'm going to read one of my poems about Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah, which says, "Praise be thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has commanded us to light the candles of Hanukkah." Let's try that again. So I wrote a poem about Hanukkah, about my childhood, and about the biblical ceremonies. This is my book, From Father to Son. It's a collection of 100 poems, 50 of my father's and 50 of mine. And this particular poem talks about my childhood and the memories thereof, and it's called Hanukkah Poem. On the cold of winter's nights, voices hushed, windows tight, supper finished, dishes stacked, soup to nuts, nothing lacked. Brass unboxed, brought to sight, candles stuffed, poised to light, 44 candles carefully packed, removed in a series, carefully racked. Prayers are sung as we ignite and stand together to recite ancient stories full of facts, days of lore, heroes backed. Rebellion bold, those realize that faith alone, and more besides, must fight against the evil way. Romans and pagans want their say. The Maccabees, a tribe with pride, killed themselves, 900 died. So the winners of the day, their swords unblemished, their nerves and fray, hollow victory they must hide to find those dead, a genocide. Their memories of yesterday for years to come will always pray. Those days of suffering and woe are now all past, or mostly so, and now the stories all are told, time to cheer and be bold. Unwrap the gifts with shiny bow, and we play by candle glow. Eat Hamantash, served up cold as poppy seeds, a heavy load. A crowd of friends we all know. As hours wind, it's time to go. We spin our dreidels, coins of gold, and think about those days of old. When you're thinking about yourself and your journeys through life, journal a little bit, write a little poetry, and it will be something that you can remember for the rest of your lives. We'll be back after these messages to bring on our first guest. We have 2 guests tonight. The first one is Sandra Lynn Price. And speaking of memories, she wrote about her memories as a survivor of Katrina and talks about how you can use these stories to deal with your grief. My book and all the books of our guests are available on our website, shown here on the screen, www.doctors-dreams.com. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Mississippi Gulf Coast and Neighboring Sites Anthology contains a collection of 25 essays about the history and tourist attractions across Mississippi's Gulf Coast. Features include the Round Island Lighthouse, Mary Mahoney's Old French House, Beauvoir, and the Friendship Oak. Read about the history of the Bellingrath Gardens and now defunct Si's Place, where Elvis Presley and Hank Williams performed. Only $10 at www.doctorsdreams.com.
Here at John Paul Barber Law Firm, we're here to listen to your problems and give you advice that we can give you from 30 years of experience practicing law here in Mississippi. We specialize in family law, wills and estates, estate planning, business formation, and business transactions.
Stop.
We also handle personal injury and immigration matters. Our number is 228-447-3522. We're here to help. Se habla español.
Philip Levin's mystery suspense thriller Inheritance tells of a young newspaper reporter who is scheduled to receive a multi-million-dollar inheritance, if she can survive. Each chapter begins with her daily column, and each gets her deeper into trouble with accused murderers stalking her, cocaine trafficking, and political corruption all stirred into the mix. A mysterious sailor may be her savior, or perhaps her worst nightmare. Available from Amazon.com.
I am Dr. Azad Kabir, internal medicine board certified physician, and my focus will be preventive health, geriatric care, primary care.
My name is Inez Kelleher. I have been practicing orthopedic surgery on the coast for 20 years. I treat patients with osteoporosis and osteoarthritis using nutrition, medications, injections, and lifestyle management.
We are physician-only practices.
Hi, I'm L.L. Lee. Are you a devoted Saints fan, or you know someone who is or was? If you are, you'll want to read my book, The Forever Saints Fan Club. It's a tribute to the New Orleans Saints and to 4 devoted fans who love them and loved me unconditionally. You can get the books at Bay Books in Bay St. Louis or go to Amazon.com.
And welcome back to Meet the Authors. I'm honored to have with us today Sandra Lynn Price. Hi, Sandra. How are you doing?
Thank you, Dr. Phil. It's so good to be here with you.
That's great. So, wow, you got a new book. Tell us about your book.
This is my book, Katrina's Grace, Wind, Water, and Wisdom. It's really kind of a spiritual journey book for me. The context is Katrina, but it tells a lot of my life story of things that happened in my life that I remembered because Katrina happened.
Yeah, no, I read this book. I really love the parts of it where you talked about Grandma's chest and the old sewing machine and all these mementos from your previous life. And as they were ruined and you brought them back up and you were able to relate in the book the meanings they had for you and how they brought you on to the grieving process.
Yes, that was a very important part of my healing process. Since Katrina, I've been working in disaster response as a natural response. I was a pastor, I was a professor before, and after Katrina, I looked around and said, what's next for me? So I joined Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, where I've been coordinating our programs to help people heal from disaster. And one of the things I've learned there and that we teach there is a very important part of the healing process is telling your story. And I did that in this book. What I did, I took all of my pictures of the treasures I had lost to the beach for a whole month. And I'd meditate on one at the time and then write the story of that particular item in my life. For example, my sewing machine got ruined. Mm-hmm. It was laying in the middle of the floor with stuff all around it when I got back. That's the sewing machine that my precious mother-in-law had taught me to sew on, and that I taught my daughter to sew on, and that we had planned to teach my granddaughter to sew on, and it was destroyed.
Wow.
And it broke my heart. But part of the grace was the remembering why I hurt so much. It was the memories that it brought up that made me remember why it hurt so much to lose it. And one of the things I wrote in my book, if I could just read you one paragraph.
Why don't you read us a segment? We'd love that. I'm going to take these candles down while you talk. Go ahead.
All right. And I would say to our audience, so many of you are Katrina survivors, and you've said this word, I'm sure. We were always saying, it's just stuff, trying to justify what our losses and thinking we shouldn't be grieving about them. We all said it. We had our chins projected out when we said it because we were trying to be tough. But I want to say it's not true. It's not just stuff. Some of it was mattresses and, boxes of Comet and TVs and DVDs and that kind of thing. But other items were the stuff of our lives, our memories. It was the tangible stuff that carried the memories of our lives, the memories of love, of fun, of sorrows, of passion, of defeats, of victories, of moments of knowing. It carried the energy embedded from our children and our moms and dads, our sisters and our brothers, our grannies and our mamas, our papas and our grandpapas, our friends and our lovers. It was the material symbols of having lived our treasured moments of our lives. When we behaved terribly, or the moments we felt magic of connection or the agony of disconnection, the moments that made our memories. Part of the value of this book for me, and I think for the reader, is to see that process of telling the story about why those things were so important to us and why we're grieving the loss of them.
Absolutely. That's what Katrina stories really can relate to you. I've really loved your book. It really brought a lot of, I lived on the beach too, so that really brought a lot to me.
Yes.
So you used to be a professor, you told me.
I was a professor at Mississippi State for a full career. I lived in Starkville 30 years, taught at Mississippi State for 27 years.
What was your topic? What was your
I taught teachers, and I learned from some of the best teachers, actually. I had the privilege of starting the Mississippi Writing Thinking Institute, and in that we brought great teachers together to teach other teachers. And so that's part of where I developed my love of writing for healing and writing in a journal. And I had about 100 journals when Katrina hit.
Wow.
They all got wet.
Oh, how sad.
But I've saved them.
Uh-huh.
And occasionally I go back to them just to look at them.
That's wonderful.
Much of the writing's still there.
So you came down here after that to be a pastor, right?
I was a pastor in Livingston, Alabama.
Uh-huh.
And I retired August 1st of '04 to move to the coast to be near my dear friends. Moved into my friend's rental house, bought it the next March, and just finished the renovation of it on Friday before Katrina hit.
Oh, no. So many stories like that.
Yes.
Well, tell us, show the audience your book and tell us where they can get it.
You can get this book at several locations on the coast. Southern Bound Books in downtown Biloxi, Heritage House in Gulfport, and Bay Books in Bay St. Louis. You can also get it on Amazon, and you can go to my website, sandralynnprice.com, to find other information about the book and to see some of my other writings.
Now, Sandra, you were telling me that you're a healer. Tell me more about that.
It's just part of my essential nature that I like to do things that help people heal from difficult situations. So one of the things I'd like to say about my book is it's a model that can be used for healing. The way I looked at the pain, the painful losses that I had, and in my case, I wrote in a journal about it. I wrote and wrote and wrote in a journal. Other people sometimes draw. Other people sometimes tell their stories orally to people. One of the things we know is that to heal from trauma, you have to tell your story over and over and over, and maybe in many different forms. So I recommend journaling. I recommend drawing for any kind of a grief situation in our lives, not just a hurricane. We also have to stay close to the people who are positive relationships in our lives. Make sure we have time for them. Make sure we eat right and do exercise and have fun and laugh and just enjoy the leisure time activities that we love. Those are essential for healing from any kind of a difficult situation we have. And I'd just like people to know that.
I think everyone should know that. It's a wonderful thing to be able to heal, to be able to bring from your soul this hurt that you've had. So how strong a role does religion play in this for you?
This book is essentially a story of my spiritual journey. I would say spiritual more than religion because it's not about dogma at all. But it is about how the Spirit moves like wind and water to give us wisdom. That's the reason for the subtitle of my book. For me, the Spirit moves like wind and water to give us wisdom. And a lot of that wisdom is in that deep space within us.
Right. It's so good to have you with us. Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
And I hope you all will stay tuned. Our next author has a brand new children's book, Stephen Powell. He illustrated it himself. He wrote it. It's in all fleur-de-lis. It's really cute. So stay with us, and we'll be right back after these messages.
A scientist, a shrimper, a historic hotel guest, an artist, a grocer, a famous TV chef. Be what you want to be. Learn what it's like to be me. Play house in the trees, travel the seas, see new sights, reach new heights, discover friends, discover fun. Lynn Meadows for children and everyone. Discover all Lynn Meadows Discovery Center has to offer at lmdc.org.
Here we are at the Orr O'Keefe Museum of Art. World-famous architect Frank Gehry designed this campus. Right now we're in the museum store where you can see all sorts of wonderful things from local Mississippi artists. We're coming up with a great show called Vintage Motorcycles, The Wind in Your Hair. The Orr O'Keefe Museum of Art has a really fantastic studio for ceramics. We also have a number of workshops. In the Gallery of African American Art, we have a very famous Chicago artist named Paul Wandless.
For a taste of area history, visit the Ocean Springs Museum of History. It's located at the Mary C. O'Keefe Cultural Center of Arts and Education on the second floor. That's at 1600 Government Street, Ocean Springs.
This is Shaughnessy Printing.
We're a commercial printing company, been in business for 67 years, founded in 1950. Do all kinds of commercial printing.
Flyers, posters, wide format printing.
Business cards, letterheads.
Direct mail, stationery,
brochures,
newsletters, business cards, letterhead, envelopes, note cards, door hangers, rack cards, flyers. This is Shaughnessy Printing Company on 234 Kivette Street.
We'd like to have your business.
How you doing? It's the doctor.
And I am the doctor who writes. And I'm having a grand time today selling a lot of my books. And my best book is this one, The Tides of Mississippi. 6 first place awards across the region, and I'm really, really proud of it. It's doing very well.
Well, congratulations for such an honor.
Thanks so much. and welcome back to Meet the Authors. Our second guest for tonight is Stephen Hoffman from Diamond Head. He's a graphic designer with 2 young children of his own, and he has put together this really delightful children's book based on the fleur-de-lis. So welcome, Stephen.
Nice to meet you.
All right, show the audience your book. This is so cute. Look at this book.
So we got the flirty birds. They are, a bird that has a, their heads are shaped like a fleur-de-lis, their torsos are shaped like a fleur-de-lis, and their feet are shaped like a fleur-de-lis. And it's exactly what it says. It's an illustrated field guide.
Open up the book again and show this whole picture. That was really a cute picture. Isn't this graphic design stuff amazing?
And here's
really, the one with the
proof
feet.
that
Oh, it was so cute. That one. Show that again.
So,
and that's cute as anything. But the whole book is like this. I mean, you're going to be delighted when you get this book because the whole story is all these birds. And I want to show them the one about the New Orleans picture.
all right, yeah. Their scientific name is Fleur-de-lis hudaticus, in case you wanted to know that.
I did. I want to know the scientific name.
So it basically goes through a series of questions, and they eventually make their way to New Orleans to see the parade of the flirty birds of paradise. And so one of the questions here is, do flirty birds fly? Well, they don't. They fleur. And to
Read that to
fleur,
us. Read that whole section to us.
flirty birds don't fly, they fleur. They march not to find new nesting grounds or food, but because they can. It's just so much fun. Some skip and hop, some beep and some bop. And some do all 4 simultaneously.
I love these. The whole book is so much fun. Where did you get the idea for this book?
Well, I've had the idea for years, and I haven't really known what to do with it. But it's probably, I'd say, like 5 years ago. I was at a friend's house, and he had this huge fleur-de-lis on the wall, and I was just looking at it, and it looked like a bird to me. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to have, a bird that, had a shape of a fleur-de-lis.
That's good. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really like this. So this is your first book. First book you've illustrated, first book you've published. And you're a graphic designer, right, by nature, by profession. So you really have an up on this. Tell us about the publishing processing. You started with this idea 5 years ago. How long did it take you to put this together and get it published?
Well, I went back and forth. Like I thought maybe I could do, a flirty bird doll. And then I thought, well, I'll do T-shirts. And then I went back to a doll. And then I went to a children's book. So I finally settled on, and the reason that I didn't settle on the children's book at first is because I really didn't think that I could illustrate it. And because I've always drawn and painted my whole life. I knew I could write, but the illustration part, I've never been like a quick illustrator. Like, I could never bang out, a full illustration in minutes. But I could paint. So I finally just said, you know what, I'm gonna just do it, and found a way to illustrate it, and so I just decided that I could do it, and I did it.
You did do it.
Yeah.
And you did this one through Create Space, right? Because Sandra did hers too. I've done books. The one I read from was from Create Space. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, it was interesting because as I was looking at the rules, because Create Space has a lot of specific rules on how you need to submit the PDF, and I thought that was going to be really daunting. But as after I got finished with the illustrations and the story had been written and started to look at the rules, a lot of them are just standard graphic design rules, like having the bleed, having the the art come out off the edge of the page a little bit.
So you're saying the process wasn't very difficult?
It was not at all.
And how long from the time you started writing it to the time you got the book out?
I started illustrating the beginning of June and was done with all the illustrations by the end of October. and had my first copies right around Thanksgiving. So,
well, gosh, only like 5 months and you had that book
Yeah.
out for Christmas. That's a wonderful story.
Yep.
Tell us, everything has a message. Every book has a purpose and a meaning. And tell us what you're trying to say in this book.
See, I really don't have a message in this book. I just thought it was a cute, fun idea.
It is a cute, fun idea, and that is the message. That's the message that you should be, that people pick up this book, and it's just fun, and it really gives you an idea of how you can just use your imagination to make these big-eyed birds, and they're great, wonderful shapes. I think it's a really fine book. It's a really great book.
One of the things that, when I have 2 kids of my own, and when I read books that don't keep the parent in mind and don't have something for the parents, like whether it be humor or whatever, I tune out. So I intentionally wrote this thing to have, some humor. Like, one of the places that they go to eat is the Waddle House. And
the Waddle House.
so they're eating crawfish. They also eat shrimp and the occasional falcon. So barbecue falcon wings are on special.
Is that a reference to the Saints football team?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make that clear.
Indeed it is. And so, it's stories like that, whether it's movies or books, that I'm drawn to as a parent, if it's got something for me as well. Because I'm going to be reading this thing, every night for the next 3 years. And my kids are a little older now, but for kids...
How old are your kids now?
I've got one who's, my daughter's 6 and my son is 9.
So you were telling me earlier the daughter loves the photos and the son loves the actual reading the story, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
And you're going to work on a second one. Now show us the back.
This is an idea that I have for, a second book, which is, this is Floranosaurus rex.
Floranosaurus rex, it's so cute.
You can see the little Mardi Gras beads there. And,
yeah, that's their excrement.
Oh yeah. Well,
Mardi Gras beads.
their droppings are colored like Mardi Gras beads, so don't throw them. So I thought maybe I'll do a book about where they came from, like how they evolved. And,
what fun!
So it's
like the
in
Minion story and how they grew up. I really love that.
Exactly.
Well, that's good. So we're so glad you come on the show. Show people the book and tell them where they can get it.
This is Flirty Birds, an illustrated field guide. It's available on Amazon. I have a website, flirtybirds.com. You can also get it at Bay Books in Bay St. Louis and The Mockingbird, actually.
Mockingbird in Bay St. Louis,
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really cute store. All the books available from all our authors can be found and bought through my website. Put up the website again. And we will, there it is, and we hope that you'll be back and see more authors on the coming shows this coming year. So join us next time on Meet the Authors.